How's it going, guys? Mostly Toasty here, and today I'm going to be answering the question, should you or should you not main a hero in Overwatch? So to kind of start off, the answer is a little bit more simple than a lot of people think, but there's been a bit of a dilemma, I guess you can say, in the Overwatch community, and that is, should you main a hero or should you not main a hero? Because a lot of people, especially like a lot of like the pros and stuff that are in the Overwatch community, they say that you should use the hero that kind of counter attacks the enemy team. But pretty much what that means is just this game's kind of like related to a rock, paper, scissors type game. For every hero, there's going to be a counter to that hero. And like I said, a lot of pros say that you should use counter heroes, I guess you can say. So that, say that you're using a Tracer and the enemy team is using a Torbjorn, that when you're a Tracer, that Torbjorn's going to take you down super easily because he's a counter. I mean, there's like multiple counters for each hero, but I'm not going to get into them all. But pretty much like I said, every hero in this game has a counter, or at least has a few different counters to that hero that can shut down that hero really easy. So the question you should really ask, instead of should you main a hero or should you not, is as simple as this: are you playing in a team or are you playing solo? So starting off, if you were playing in a team, and this is just my opinion, okay, I'm not like a pro or competitive player. I mean, I'm giving these tips to all the competitive players out there, or just even quick play players, because I know it could be really frustrating when you have like a few like Tracers on your team or like a couple Winstons, and it's just not necessary. And you know, people think that they have to use a certain hero to counter different heroes, but yeah, this is just my opinion, so just take it as you will. But pretty much what I think you should do if you are in a team, and by team I mean at least like 4 players maybe, like 4 or more players I would count as a team. So if you're playing with 4 or more people that you know, my one answer to maining a hero or not main a hero is to main a role, not a hero. Because each hero in this game, there's 21 different heroes, each hero in this game has a role that they play. Pretty much there's the offense, there's the defense, there's tank, and support. And each one has a role to fit. Support, they do the healing on the team and kind of like support the team. They give them armor and stuff, and they're exactly what they're called, support. Tanks are like the brute like damage takers, I guess you can say. They're the ones that want to take damage for your team and kind of distract the enemies. Defense is pretty much good for like the control maps or anything. Well, I mean, pretty much this whole game is an objective game mode, but they're good at like holding objectives and stuff and kind of like holding down the objectives. And then you have offense, which is good at like getting up close and personal. They're doing like flanking to kind of distract the enemies in like the back line. And also some of the offense heroes actually pretty good at holding off offense, like a control point. And what I mean by maining a role is, if you were like a main like Tracer, if you use Tracer a lot and use her as your main, I guess you can say, what you want to do is, instead of maybe like using Tracer for a match, just use Genji. Because Genji's pretty much like similar, or all the offense heroes are pretty much similar as how they play. Like Genji is a little bit better than Tracer at sometimes in combat, because Genji just has, I think, a little bit more health. I want to say he has like 200 or so health, and Tracer only has 150. So like I said earlier, if you're a Tracer running in the battle and a Torbjorn is just taking you down and you cannot get close to a Torbjorn, because Tracer only has like close range weapons, she has to be really close to the enemy to kill him. She's just going to keep getting taken down because she's only got 150 health, doesn't have range on the Torbjorn turret, and you're just going to get taken out. But if you just decide, hey, I'm going to use Genji, okay, Genji's still in the offense class, so he still plays as how like Tracer would probably play too. But instead, with Genji, you have a ranged attack and you have a little bit more health, so you can take a few more shots from the turret, and you can also kind of like peek out around corners with your ranged attack and take out the turret that way instead of trying to get close with Tracer. So why I say main a role and not a hero is because everyone has their own playstyle, and no matter what you say to the other person, like, hey, I need you to switch it up or something, go to a tank, they're not going to want to switch to like playing a tank and stuff because they're not comfortable with it. If you tell someone who's maining, say, like a Pharah, or like I said, offense characters like Genji or McCree, and you tell them to go play like a Zarya, who is a tank, or play Reinhardt, yeah, you know, you might get them to play it, but they're not going to be comfortable with playing that character, or maybe they're just not experienced at playing that type of role. And sometimes it can actually be worse to play as like a role that might be good for your team. Like if you have a Tracer and that Tracer switches to a Zarya but has never played a Zarya, that can actually end up being worse than them playing as a Tracer because they don't feel comfortable. They don't know how to play the character. So they're actually going to tend to do worse than if they were going to play with the Tracer that they use a lot and actually main, and that's their playstyle. I relate this kind of like to an example as that is telling a person who has been driving like a car for years. They've only driven cars before, and that's like saying, hey, there's too many cars on the road. I'm going to need you to like take a motorcycle or a bike. That's like, it's just no. I mean, yeah, they might be able to kind of drive a motorcycle. I know these are like two different things, but like it's the same type of deal. I mean, telling a person to just switch from a car to a motorcycle, they're not going to be comfortable getting on a motorcycle. Yet they probably won't even know how to ride a motorcycle unless they ever have rode a motorcycle. And like I said, that's making an offense player play a tank position. Yeah, I mean, offense and tank are pretty similar, but a tank definitely plays way differently than like an offense hero, because offense is meant to be doing a lot of damage and not taking a lot of damage. So like I said, if you wanna, like if you're playing with a team of at least like 4 players that you actually like know and stuff and are friends with, you're playing with like 4 or more players, tell everyone to main a role. So everybody has to play to their advantages. And now this isn't that big of a deal in quick play, but now that competitive's out, you're going to want to at least have a team that knows how to play the characters that they're playing. Because like I said, if they're playing a character they're uncomfortable with, then you're not going to get anywhere because they don't know how to play that character, or they just don't know how to play that role. Like me, if you made me play a support right now, yeah, okay, I can do pretty good. I'm not too horrible at support, but I'm an offense main, I would say, because I'm just good at like doing damage and I like flanking around enemies and such. And that's kind of what you need to keep in mind is be comfortable with the people you're playing with. You don't want to like have someone, you don't want to force someone to play someone that they're uncomfortable with. Moving on to the second answer, I guess you can say, because there's 2 different things that I want to bring up. The first one was the team. If you're playing with a team of at least 4 or more, and you guys can probably guess it, I'm going to be talking about solo. So if you're playing solo, pretty much instead of maining a role, I mean, you still want to keep that in mind. You want to at least like, if you're playing solo and you see that, you know, you have like a pretty balanced team and like say an offense slot is open for like your team composition or whatever that you see, then yeah, play your role that you can. But the second answer, if you are playing solo, is you want to at least try to learn how to play one of each hero from every class. Basically, keep the same rule from what I said before with the teams. You want to main a role, but if you can't main a role and you have like a team of like say 3 soldier 76s, you got like a support, you got a tank, and then you got like 1 room left, and that would probably be like either a defense class or maybe another support. That's where you come in and you decide, hey, okay, if you learn 1 from each different class, you'll be able to kind of like fill in the slot that no one else will when you're playing solo. Because unless you actually go get on your mic and actually start talking to people in a public game, and yeah, sometimes that works, you know, you can talk to people, you have a group chat, but sometimes other people aren't going to talk. Maybe you're like me and you don't like talking to random people. Then at least you know how to play like different roles in case that role isn't filled when you're playing solo. Because like I said, if you're playing solo and you go and say, hey, I want to play as an offense character, and you see that all, like, I guess the offense slots, because there's not really like, there's not a perfect, I guess, team composition, but how I would relate it is probably like, I'd say 3 offenses, a tank, support, and then whatever else, probably another support or tank. But if you see that there's like 3 offenses and they don't need another offense, but you are like an offense main, at least try to learn how to play another role from every slot, like every class, because it's going to help you a lot, because then you can fill in roles that people don't want to fill in, and it's just going to make your life a lot easier. Now, me being like a major, I guess, solo player, I actually did this for a while. I was like, I was experimenting. I was like maining, I made like, I think 8 hours with Tracer. She's probably like my most used character by now because I just really like her. So that, I mean, with maining a like hero by itself, yeah, you eventually get better and you learn how to counterattack the counter heroes to you. But honestly, like I said, sometimes that's just not going to work out, even if you are really good with the character. But I was experimenting with that. I experimented with just switching up my characters every time, like depending on the team composition. That did pretty good because, I mean, I was able to kind of counterattack because a lot of people just don't know either how to counter heroes, or they didn't expect it coming since I was playing, say, as like Tracer a bunch of games and I switched it up. Then they didn't expect me playing as a different character coming up. And then I started playing now as just my role, my offense role. And that is probably what I've done best with, because I feel comfortable playing offense. Like, instead of using, say, Pharah one game, I can switch it up and use Genji if I need to use him. If I'm using Tracer and I just keep getting killed over and over, maybe I'll switch to like Pharah because she has a little bit more health, she can float up in the air, and you're just not going to be taken down as easily as like Tracer. So I hope you guys just learned something new here today. I mean, like I said, competitive's out. I'm not a competitive player. I mean, I do like to play competitive, but I'm not like a pro by any means. But I hope these tips kind of helped you out. I mean, like I said, if you're in a team, main a role. If you're solo, try to main your role and main a person from each category. But like I said, I mean, hopefully you guys did learn something. I've never done like a guide video like this, so if it's all over the place, I apologize for that. But yeah, hopefully you guys do better in your Overwatch games, and if you don't have Overwatch, hopefully you guys kind of enjoyed this little guide and maybe you want to pick up Overwatch. I don't know, but let me know if you guys enjoyed. Leave a comment down below if you actually main a hero or you don't main a hero. Like I said, yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much it, though. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video.